is
Newbie-ginnings.
Newbie-ginnings. It's a podcast for new mental health professionals, students, prospective students, new grads, people who switch careers, all of them in between. So, um, yeah, this is our second round doing this.
Yep.
Um,
Trial and error.
yeah, we learned a lot from our
Yeah.
first time doing it. Today we're actually going to start off with some icebreakers.
Yep.
We're hoping to do that for every episode. So do you want to go first?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can go first. Hold on, I have to read it out from here.
Okay.
Okay. It's a would you rather.
Okay.
Okay. Would you rather only be able to use a feeling wheel that only has 3 emotions on it, like hungry, tired, and confused, right? Or have to carry a literal 10-pound emotional baggage suitcase with you to every meeting?
Oh. I guess I would just pick the like small wheel with very little emotions on it.
Okay.
What about you?
What would you do? Maybe a literal emotional baggage,
Okay.
so I can just carry it with me everywhere.
I don't know. I feel like that would just be too heavy and
It'll build my arm muscle. Like I need to build.
get strong from it.
Yeah. So for you, what would the 3 emotions be?
Probably like happy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe annoyed,
Mm-hmm.
and then like melancholy.
Okay.
I think those would be the 3 that I would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good ones.
If you had a wheel, what would maybe your emotions be on it?
I would say happy, sad, and then angry.
Okay.
I don't know.
I almost said anger, but I felt annoyed was a little bit more accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no in between for me. It's just it seems like I'm not gonna be annoyed. I'm gonna be aggressive and angry.
Kind of like an Inside Out movie.
Yeah.
Just...
Yeah.
All right. My icebreaker. Would you rather never be able to talk about yourself again? Like, you can't share anything, any fun fact, anything that you're doing in your life, anything. Or have to introduce yourself as a therapist to every new person you meet and immediately start an impromptu session.
Oh, okay. I don't like to talk about myself a lot, but I feel like I talk about myself a little to everyone. But at the same time, with the therapy session, it doesn't have to be um, going into deep detail, would it? It could just be like icebreaker,
I guess so. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I can be like, "Hi, I'm a therapist," and just ask like icebreaker questions and then just move
Bye.
along. Yeah, move along. Maybe.
Yeah.
I would choose that then,
Yeah.
because I feel like to have a conversation, and build connection and all of that. I need to be able to talk about myself. I can't just be like asking them questions because I would get mad too. I'm like, I'm not talking about myself. It's only you. So
Right.
I would say the other one.
Okay. I'd probably say the same thing. Like, I'd rather just. I don't think I could ever. I love to talk. I love to yap. I don't think I could ever not talk about like anything about myself.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah.
I'd probably say at least impromptu therapy session. And
Yeah.
then maybe I'd just be really good after that.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing therapy all the time.
Exactly. Oh, that would be so much experience.
Right.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
That's how you get experience from birth.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That it would be so nice.
So today,
Yes.
our topic is going to be about grad school. So as licensed social workers, we did many years of undergrad and grad school. Now that we're out in the field and working, I think the realities of school kind of showing. So we're going to be talking about that today.
Yeah.
We each wrote down some things we felt grad school prepared us for versus didn't. Um, so yeah, you want to get started?
Yeah, do you want me? I'll take my phone out because
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, I wrote all mine on my phone.
I remember all of that. So I think for me, I've learned a lot of things through social media, right? Whether that be Instagram, TikTok. So I think I learned a lot through there too. So the one that I'm about to talk about is process versus content in therapy,
Mhm.
right? So in content, you just talk about, I feel, the superficial kind of stuff and ask a lot of questions about maybe what the other person was feeling instead of focusing on what the client was feeling. And with the process part, where it's only focusing on the client, how they were feeling, if they were um, uh, what they're how where they feel in their body and things like that, where I feel like I didn't even know the difference between those two. I didn't even know those two existed, right? So when I brought up in supervision and tried to talk about that, my supervisor also said, well, yeah, that isn't something that I heard about before. So it was like kind of like me introducing those two to my supervisor and in the group therapy. So I was just like, wow, okay. So I felt like I was learning a lot through social media, right? Even though I went through grad school and I did internships and did all of that, but I feel like even through social media, I've learned a lot of other things too.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
yeah, social media definitely has been like a savior
for sure.
with this stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like social media has its own pros and cons, which I've experienced. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially I don't know. I think you do make a good point too with like the processing. Like that's kind of an important part with a lot of intervention and
yes,
modalities.
yes.
Um, but I don't feel like grad school because that was one of the things on my list was they definitely like dip your toe into the different modalities, but long like in depth they don't. And
No.
processing is a part of that in depth process.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that one there.
Yeah, I'm just like, no. What about you? What was your.
Something. Oh, let's see. Yeah, not in depth there. Um, okay, I think one thing that I did feel unprepared for, kind of going into it, was, and this I think is just because we're social workers. I think
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
mental health counselors, I think their programs emphasize more with role playing. But when we did role play videos, they were so short. Like they were 15 minutes, maybe twice a semester per
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
So when I got into a real session, I'm like, I have to do this for 55 minutes. I
Help me, God.
right, help me. Like I don't know. Um, and yeah, I definitely think there's just not enough opportunity to practice role playing, all of that stuff
Yeah.
there. So
I totally 100,000% agree with you. I felt the same way. Even, I did it, I think, once during my bachelor year,
yeah.
and then once during my master's year. Depending on what classes you took. I took crisis, so I had to do one.
Oh yeah, I did too.
So that was it, right? And then so for my bachelor class, right, they're like, how are you going to improve on this, right? And I wrote, I'm gonna practice it like, a few times, but I haven't practiced it because I have work. I have to go to classes. I have to do all these other things, so I didn't have that chance either. And then in school, they don't provide you with that kind of experience either. So it's just like it doesn't really help.
Yeah, like the internship part, I got the experience in internship, with my own therapy sessions with
Yeah,
clients.
yeah.
Uh, but you're right, like we reflect, and then but no one else in my life would know. Like if I'm doing a therapy session, they wouldn't know if I'm doing it right or how it's going.
Yes.
So practicing kind of has its limits if
Yes.
there's no one there to kind of
Guide you
guide you.
and be like, this is what you need to work on, and this is something that I've liked. And I feel like that's the most important part, especially during internship, right? If your supervisor is there and provides you with feedback and see how you're in session, I feel like that would provide a lot of more in-depth um what I'm trying to say, review, not review, feedback
Feedback.
to you. Yeah, it's like feedback, right? So I feel like that happens with counseling, right? Because they video even during their grad school and in person in session with the client that they have been working for a good amount of time. So I feel like I we didn't get that experience, right? Did you have a supervisor that would sit with you and just look how you did your session?
No.
Yeah,
No. Like
yeah,
the closest thing I had was very first time I ever did an assessment. I had
yeah.
she wasn't even technically my supervisor at the time. She was just like over the place I worked at.
Mhm.
I had a different supervisor.
Oh
She
yeah.
sat in the first time, and then my colleague sat in the second time, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assessment, I agree.
Yeah.
And we have shadowed. Right? We
Yes,
have
I had plenty of shadowing experience.
I fell asleep.
Really?
Not fell asleep, but I was just like try in and out because I'm just like I'm looking at it, right? And I am seeing their interactions, but at the same time, no one is there to tell you this is what's happening and this is where I'm going and
Hmm.
all of that. Right? So I feel like that would have been helpful to certain people that I've shadowed. I two, I think, three. They were able to tell me, I did this and this, and we were able to go over it. But I feel like it wasn't enough time,
Hmm.
and the internship that I did, the sessions that I had with the clients, they were nice, but they weren't in depth. I would say to a point where it made me question what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was whereas now I'm just like, what am I doing? Because I'm getting a lot of clients that have so many different disorders. So I'm just like, I'm doing this with this client and I'm doing that with the other client, but I'm just like I'm scattered,
Hmm.
so I don't know what I'm doing. So I feel like, yeah,
Right. Just like, yeah, scatterbrained everywhere. Yeah, I feel that so much.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too. I feel like the grad school didn't really prepare us for, which it would have been nice if they would have, right? Where we wouldn't have all these overthinking that was going on, where we question ourselves, and when after we get home from work, it's like not kind of peace, but you're not overthinking as much as you do.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it definitely doesn't help the imposter syndrome
Yeah,
coming into it.
yeah,
And my first job was in community mental health. And I don't think with grad school, like I took a diagnosing class
yeah,
and learned how to do all that.
yeah,
I will say it was very like strict textbook based. Like there was not a lot of ambiguity,
yeah.
ambiguity, ambiguity. I can't say that word.
I mean, either.
Words are hard.
Yeah, yeah,
um, in terms of like whereas in real life sometimes people will come to you and their diagnosis is not quite as textbook.
yes.
But getting a community mental health, like, I don't think it really prepared me. Grad school did not prepare me for how wide ranging the scope of clients would be, and
Mhm.
how even though in grad school it's always like work within your scope of practice, don't work with outside of it.
Yeah.
And community mental health, I'm like, that's not really a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally had a supervisor tell me, "Oh, we'll talk about it and you'll learn it in the field." I, but it's not an area I'm well versed in.
Yeah, especially since you have just started after you've graduated.
Yeah,
So it's just like, how where you have to work within your scope, there's limited amount of, disorders that you could work with. But with community mental health, it's unlimited.
yeah,
Where it's just
it
like
really
so
is.
many different disorders that you're not really well versed in, but you have to be because you're seeing those clients. And if you don't, then the company is going to lose money and it's going to affect your productivity. And then there's a possibility that you might get fired. So it's
Yeah.
just like all these pressures that are built
Hmm.
in you. So it's just a lot of those things too. I feel like that has impacted, especially in sessions too. And our imposter syndrome, as you said, is imposter syndrome. As you said.
And that was something else I also put on my list was the grad school did not prepare me for this, like how big caseloads can be and like just how rushed you can sometimes feel.
Yes.
Like we did practice biopsychosocials, we did practice soap notes, all of that, but that does not compare to a caseload 30 some people a week, trying to finish the note on time, meeting productivity.
Yeah.
Like you jump into it and you're like, oh, now I see why people say they're stressed in the
Yeah.
field,
Yeah.
especially as a therapist when you're seeing clients sometimes back to back for a day, for the whole day.
Yeah. So yeah, that too. I feel like there's a lot of other things too, but like with this, I feel like that's so true, right? They don't, especially with sessions and having back to back sessions, it's so hard because you want to end it at 50 so you could have like 10 minutes 55, yeah, 10-15 minutes to do your notes, right? Even if it's not a lot, just get the gist of what the client
Mm-hmm.
has talked about, just put it there, and then you can come back at it later time. But you don't even sometimes get that because client keep on talking and you're just like, I need to end this session, but I don't know how to. I think sometimes that is also a struggle too, right? And I think that the grad school should have touched on that too, right? And help us again gain that experience that we didn't really have.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does feel rushed, I would say. So especially if you have climbed from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, where it's back to back to back, and then you have 30-minute lunch, and sometimes you don't even get to eat the lunch because
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I need
Yeah.
to get my notes done. If I don't, and the company has its own um time that they want their notes to be done,
Yeah.
and then so it's yeah, a lot of those things.
Yeah. I feel like structuring a session, like I feel with certain modalities, like I learned a lot of like how to structure like a CBT session in depth, but
Yeah.
how to mix modalities, how to structure kind of, I don't know, I guess real sessions, because what I feel like we learn in grad school is not what a real session looks like.
Yeah.
But then even wrapping up, like you said at the end, like I mean, I don't think it was inherently bad advice. I don't know, but like I had a supervisor told me, you just cut them off. Like that's what you do. You just cut them off. You stop them, and you're like, okay, well, and then you just kind of summarize real quick, give them resources, because this was my old job where I did
Okay.
more like crisis work, but I still did like therapy sessions. Like I don't know. It's just because like now that I'm doing outpatient therapy, I'm like,
It's different.
yeah, cutting off a client just does it's never felt good to me. It's never felt natural. And I mean, grad school I don't think they would approve.
No, no, I don't think so. And they're there because they have crisis.
Right. Like there's things they need to talk about, and
Yes.
just to like cut them off
Yeah.
because it was all about time limits, and
Yeah.
and the response is like, well, in real therapy they would only get like 50 minutes. But there's also that doorknob moment where they reveal something at the end and you've got to spend extra time with them. So
Yeah.
that I don't feel like that was a super strong reason for it.
And they should have told the clients, this is a crisis. All this is a crisis. You have this much time with the therapist there, so you doesn't have to be on you to be like, let me cut them off. Like they could also know that I have a certain amount of time that I can see them. I feel like that would have been much more helpful too.
I think it was actually brought up, like someone had brought up even using like a timer in session, because we have
Countdown.
clocks, but like yeah, it would be like a countdown timer.
3, 2, 1, out.
But the same supervisor was like, well, because everybody comes in for different things,
Yeah.
which is fair. Like
Yeah.
somebody comes in, they only need 20 minutes just to vent.
Yeah.
Somebody else needs an hour and a half to process. But I think, but then suggesting that you just cut off. I mean, and she wasn't the only one. Like my colleague who then eventually became my boss was the same way. Like, just cut people off. Like that's
and,
just
and
not me.
and that's how you get bad reviews for the agency.
Yes, nobody listened to me. They cut me off right away and sent me out the door. Um, so I feel like I've naturally gotten used to ending session now. Just kind of how you summarize things, that reflection of content, kind of circling back around.
Yeah.
I think has helped me. But I don't think. I mean, it's been a few years, but I don't think grad school really prepared me for like how do you genuinely wrap up a session, because we do 15-minute role plays.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
barely get into
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
anyway.
And then whenever you're in grad school, 15 minutes feels like forever.
It does. It does.
So especially trying to stretch that into 30 minutes. especially if you are not used to it and you have a first session during your internship days. It's like, what am I doing? Right? I feel like
Right.
having a structured plan of what how you could start a session and how to structure a session would have been much more helpful, I would say. So we had that class, right, where we had to um discuss our internship and how it went.
Oh yeah, seminar.
Seminar, yes. That didn't help at all. I would say so.
Oh
For
yeah,
me personally, it didn't help at all because why are we learning about other things and not talking about how our sessions went?
yeah. It was because I had undergrad seminar and grad seminar were very different, but even then, even in undergrad, like it was. I think undergrads was a lot more helpful for sure, but we didn't still talk a lot about our internships. Like
Not at all.
I thought it was kind of gonna be like brought up as you
Do
know
you know how I thought it was gonna be? I thought we were gonna
in a
sit
circle.
in a circle and
Yes.
then go one by one, or like have a discussion about
Yep.
how our session went, what we learned, and all those other things. But no, we had topics that we needed to talk about and
Yeah.
all of this. The elevator speech, that
Yes.
was nice, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I would have that was only one, well, one class time.
Yeah. It was one
So
class.
we could have done that, but other times we could have gone over our cases, what we are struggling with, and have that community that you can talk to. Because I thought it was something like that, right? A community, your peers that you could talk to and you can rely on, and
Like a
just
support group in a
support
way.
group. And I thought it was gonna be like that, but it wasn't, and I was just like, what?
Yeah. Literally, yeah. Because for context, our cohorts, I don't
Yes.
know about yours because yours might have been a little smaller, but my cohort was split into two
Oh,
for
okay.
just seminar.
Oh, okay.
And so every other week we had seminar. And then group A went to, that week's, and then group B went to the next week's. It was the same class, it was the same instructor, it was just half the class. So like
Oh, okay.
there was
Yeah.
like maybe 8 or 9 of us. Um, Actually, there might have been a few more, but I thought that too. Like I thought it was gonna be like support group. We'd sit in a circle, we talk, or even just at our desks and talk. And instead, we spent a class doing resumes. We spent a
Yes.
class doing the elevator pitch on like
Yeah.
if we were at a job fair. Helpful skills, but not a lot of reflection in terms of the field.
I think they should have structured it in a way where they could have gotten those done, but at the same time, we would have a space that we could talk about how our session went, if we are feeling any imposter syndrome, right? Have those topics that you can talk about that doesn't make them feel like they're alone.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that would have been just nicer. The
A lot nicer.
connection there.
Yes.
Yeah, because then we were spending so much time doing group projects
Yes. And then we
on
had
top
to
of things.
write, and then we have to write paper.
All the papers. Yeah, I didn't realize how writing heavy social work would be.
Yeah.
I assume other therapy fields are the same way because that's just a lot. That was something else on my list, was a lot of self reflection. Like I do think grad school and undergrad prepared me well for self reflection. I definitely can reflect the crap out of a
Exactly. Yeah.
session,
Yeah.
maybe to a fault.
Yeah, I wouldn't need those classes to do that. I already do
Right.
that.
Like I already do that for myself. That's
Yeah,
my inner
yeah,
monologue is
yeah. I'm doing that. I'm like, why are you doing that? Do something else.
yeah.
Yes.
Um
Yeah, so I agree with that. I feel like with reflection, it does help you be self aware of the biases that you have, right? But yeah, but at the same time, it's just those are helpful for sure. But I feel like implementing other things and not making us write as much would have been much more helpful.
yeah.
Because yeah, I feel like yeah, there's research and there's different fields to social work. It's very broad, and I feel like with grad and undergrad, we have covered a lot of different aspects of social work and not into what we specifically wanted to go for, even though there was what 4 pathways and it was mental health and
Mhm.
substance use that we chose. Even with that, I feel like they weren't we weren't gone. We weren't doing things that would be would have been helpful for us, especially if we wanted to go to mental health. I feel like it wasn't very mental health based.
It was not, no. For that particular seminar, yeah, because my undergrad minor was in substance misuse and
Mm-hmm.
addiction, and I learned so much from that. Like it was, I almost considered getting my like CD, excuse
Oh
me, my
yeah, yeah, yeah.
CDCA or
Counselor code.
dependency
Yeah,
something.
Stephanie.
I almost considered doing that, but I where I work, they didn't really offer the groups that you needed.
Oh, okay, yeah.
At least like it wouldn't have really worked with my schedule. But I learned so much, and then I did the seminar because it was mental health and addiction was
Mm-hmm.
the or mental health and substance use was
Yeah.
the seminar for grad school, and I was like, oh, there's not a lot of mental health here. It's mainly substance use.
Yes.
Something that school did do well. This was mainly undergrad, I will say, but it were skills that carried over to grad school was like active listening, reflection of content, reflection of feelings. I even think now, like when we're talking, I find myself
Yeah.
like I do think school really did do a good job at helping me with those skills. So that even if I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I don't know what to do from this point, I know I can reflect.
For sure, I agree.
And I feel like people are generally receptive to that.
Yeah.
I was worried that in real life, like in real sessions, that clients would just be like, "Yep, that's right," and then leave it. Honestly, a lot of times clients are receptive to it, and
They engage.
they do.
They elaborate more on that. I did that. I remember like I had this yesterday. I had a session. I was doing reflection, and then you talk more, and I was like, thank God.
Like, yes, it worked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I agree with that. I feel like active listening and asking open-ended questions and um all those summarization, reflection of content. I feel like yeah, that also helps us with our real life too, right? Especially with people that we want to get to know, right? It helps us be prepared with some questions.
absolutely. Yeah. Um, Silence was a skill that they did teach us.
Yes.
It's something that even to this day I struggle with.
I've used silence with one client that I had. I had this thing that I was going to do with him in the session. Right, I had it all this how I wanted the session to go. I had it. I had a subject that we I wanted to focus on, and I think he was like, why do I need to do this? Right, having that kind of reaction to what I presented. And I was like, well, we can do this, right? Or if you have any other ideas that you want to do, we can do that. Or if there isn't, then, we can just stay in silence. And then we stayed in silence the whole session.
Wow.
I don't know if that was my best work, but I was just like, if I'm giving you a lot of different options here, but if you choose not to do that, and if you choose to not to do anything for this session, then that's your choice. I'm not gonna force you to communicate with me, to engage with me. And I feel like I don't know if because we were taught to meet where the client is at.
Yeah.
So I feel like in that way, I was also doing that because I didn't want to be too pushy, but at the same time, I wanted to meet where he was at. So I've used silence. That's all I wanted to say.
No, I love it, and yeah, I just it's something I struggle with.
Yeah, I agree. I sometimes struggle with it too, but sometimes if it gets like too much and I feel like it gets too challenging for me, I'm just like, if you want to stay silent, then we can do that.
I like that. That might be something I can try to use. Hi, from the future. So, we had some technical difficulties. One of the cameras only filmed in 30-minute increments, which I did not initially know that. And then one of the cameras died. So, for the next few minutes, we don't have any video clips. I thought the cameras like had their issues like later than they actually did. So for the next few minutes, I'm just gonna put captions up on the screen, and then at the end, we do come together. We just used one of the cameras to get us both in it. That happens for the second episode as well. I haven't edited that one yet, so I don't know at what point, but there will also be captions for a segment of that. And then by the third episode, we use different cameras. So hopefully we won't have that anymore. Okay, that's it. Back to it. I think it's more just a personal thing. Like, it's just a discomfort.
I agree. Sometimes with certain clients, it's just like the silence is too much.
Was there anything else on your list? I feel like all I kept doing was just pulling from mine. And
Do you want to talk about I think operational and experimental failures? I feel like with operational and experimental failures, I feel like that this is something that I'm going through personally, currently in current times. So with operational failures, right? That is whether you're on time, right? Whether you have your laptop or things like that, right? Where you're able to
like your daily
yeah,
functioning.
with experimental failures, you're trying to do something that you haven't done in the past. And with that, you're going to fall down. You're going to not know how to do it properly, right? But you should not treat it as if you should have already know how to do that, right? Or you should, or there are other ways that, you could improve. Yeah, that's true, but at the same time, this is your first time learning, right? Give yourself some grace, right? So I feel like I have related to that because with especially with therapy, I feel like this is my first time that I'm doing it after although I have done it during internship and all of that, but I feel like with my internship experience it was very different compared to how I'm doing it right now as a job. Because during my I feel like internship was just like la 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 la, right? Because I had classes, I had all those other things I could focus on. It was not just therapy, and I had few clients. But now
Right.
I have a lot of clients, a lot of disorders that I am not very well versed in, that I have the pressure to know and have all the information so I could present it to the client, but also intervene with the client in a way that would be helpful for them where they do make progresses, right? So I feel like I was treating my experimental failures as an operational failure.
Yeah.
So, and that created a lot of um, discomfort for me, I would say, because I'm just like, why am I not getting this? Because this is my first time doing it, right? And I've never, yeah. So since this is my first time doing it, it's hard, and going with those feelings and experiencing those feelings, it's not an easy thing to do. And I was just like, I need to get a hang of this real right now. And that's not something that's going to happen. And I was like, why aren't you getting a handle of this right now? Right? So I feel like that also built a lot of pressure for me to um, view it as an operation failure.
I do think that that is a good reminder to us,
Yes.
especially being new professionals, that is comparing. And this is, I think, part of the reason why I wanted to create this podcast, because when you get into this field and you get on social media, you work even in your agency, you're surrounded by people who have been in the field for many, many years.
Many.
And I know that they've been in the same positions we've been in, but because they're now 10, 15, 20 years into the field, it's kind of like I look up at them more as like, oh, they're the experts.
Yeah.
And, that they don't fail, they don't make mistakes, they know everything. That's why we go to them.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a nice reminder of like being new. This is where we're at. It's not an operational failure. It's because we're doing new things. We're trying new things. Everything is new to us. So I think that's a really good, gentle reminder.
Yeah.
To bring up.
I think it hit home for me, so I was just like, maybe I should think.
Absolutely. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
So, because I never heard of operational failure or experimental failure before.
Me neither. Till yesterday.
And me today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is our first podcast, our first episode.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we'll
continue this
and make some good episodes. Hopefully they're relatable. Maybe later on I'd like to get even viewer submissions to to further connect with people. So
Yeah.
my hope is just to create a platform, a community for people, for us, especially us new
Yeah.
professionals, job changes, all of that within the field. So
Yeah.
we're going to be airing Wednesdays. So I think so, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube so far. And then
Okay, yeah.
we have Instagram, TikTok, all of that.
Mhm.
So we're at Newbie-ginnings, I think MHP. So
Yeah.
tune in there to see us. But all right, any last words?
Yeah, I think you covered it, but thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
We just, as he said, we just are trying to have a space where every one of us can maybe relate to one another, or learn new things, whatever that might be. Just having that space where you can do all of that. So,
Yeah.
and this was New
Newbie-ginnings.
Beginnings. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. I mean, cut.